Camera, action.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite horror movies of 2025. Now I'll be honest, this year, looking back on it, I was like, there just wasn't a lot of movies that I was like, wow, that really worked for me, or I really enjoyed that. And I thought this was like a kind of a slower year for movies, not the best year for movies per se, but I did see a lot of people that were like, this year was great for movies and all that stuff. And I was like, maybe it's just a me thing. But so I was like, when it came time to making this list, I was like, it probably won't be that hard to make this list. And then as I started making it, I was looking back at all the other movies that came out, and I eventually made my list. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that one. I forgot about that one. I forgot about that one. I went, oh crap. So I went back and was trying to make this list, and there's still some that I don't know. I'm looking down at it here. There's still some where I'm trying to figure out where to put what. And I said, but there's some that's locked in, and others where I'm like, I'm still not 100% where to put something on. So we'll see as we go. So I did have 3 honorable mentions that I did want to talk about before we got into the actual list. And it was just some that I had fun with that I couldn't leave off. So I was like, cool, we'll do this. My first honorable mention is a movie called Dream Eater, which I saw, kind of near the end of last year. And it's like this found footage movie about this guy that, has sleepwalking stuff and things get worse and worse. And then it's a movie that I think that Eli Roth found out, and thanks to him, it got put in select theaters. I found this movie super effective and very creepy. It's very low budget, and it's only got like 2 people in it. But the atmosphere to it and the setting of it being out like in the snow in this cabin in the middle of like a winter storm and all that stuff, I think really added to the effect of it. And like I said, I just think there is something genuinely creepy about it. I think I said in my review to where if you were to turn this movie on at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and just kind of lock into it, I think while sitting in bed, I was like, I think you would find some genuine scares out of it that would really get under your skin. So that's one I just wanted to put on the list. The other one is the new Silent Night, Deadly Night movie. I went into it thinking that I would like it because it's one of those movies where I like the original, even though the original is not good, but I just have a lot of fun with it. So I went into this one, I was like, well, this will be kind of a cool, touch on, just a cool new thing that they'll do with, this story or whatever. But the directions that they took it and the things that they did with it and the surprises that are in this movie, I was really surprised with it when I walked out. I was like, wow, I said, that was actually really good. And I had a lot of fun with it. It takes what a remake should do and completely turns it on its head and does its own thing while also keeping a lot of the same elements of the original story and keeping the heart of the original story there. So I was really happy with this one, and I was really impressed with it. And it's one that if you have never seen this original, I would say watch this one. I think you would really definitely like this one more. And if you've seen the original one, I would still say check this one out. I think it's something that you would probably find enjoyable as well. It's one that I will add to my Christmas watch every year now. My other honorable mention is Osgood Perkins' The Monkey that came out way earlier in the year. And I just had a lot of fun with this movie. It's very tonally different from the other movies he's done, like Long Legs and The Black Coat's Daughter and things of that nature. This goes more into that dark, very dark comedic side of things. And if you have a very dark sense of humor, this movie will work for you. There's a couple guys I worked with that said they went to go see it as well, and he was like, I didn't know whether to laugh or to be horrified. And so when it came out, we watched it at work, and all the guys that I work with have a very dark sense of humor, so we were all very much laughing our way through it and just having a really good time with it. So it's one of those things too. It might affect if you watch it with certain people, might affect how you feel about it in the end, but I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. And I love the fact that it was so tonally different from Long Legs, and he didn't do the same thing. Even though Osgood Perkins has this thing about him that I like where he does such a great job of creating that creep factor, it was just really cool to see him go in the other direction. And one more honorable, I ended up having another honorable mention because I just had to redo my list because I left out one that I forgot about that I'll talk about when I get to it. But my 4th honorable mention is Good Boy. This was originally on my list, but I had to knock it down an honorable mention for another movie, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, Good Boy I thought was a really good movie, and it's one of those movies to where I didn't know how it was going to be. We've had this kind of thing before where it's like, oh, we're going to do a haunted house movie or a killer movie from the perspective of such and such. So this one was from the perspective of a dog, and I thought this movie was really well done. There's something that's really well crafted about it. There's genuinely very creepy moments in it and very eeriness. Throughout the entire movie, there's a vibe of just this eeriness all throughout it, and it has something under its surface that it wants to say at the end of the day. And I just thought this movie was really, like I said, really well done, really effective, and I can tell that there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into this project. So I fully respect the director and his wife and his crew and all that stuff, because this was his dog and his story, and he did all this. So it's like I give him tremendous props. But this was a really good movie. If you haven't checked this one out, it is on Shudder now, and I highly recommend it. It's a pretty good time. All right, so now we're going to kick it off with the number 10. Number 10 is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Now, this was a movie that I really had... I mean, I was going to watch it at some point, but I was really in no rush to watch it. I love Guillermo del Toro. I love the stuff that he does. I love these worlds that he creates, and I love the fact that he's this massive fan of these Universal monsters, because that's really where my love came from for horror to begin with, thanks to my dad. So I have this real respect for him in that, because like I said, I love what he creates. But this was a movie where I was like, yeah, I just no rush to watch it. I'll get to it eventually. And I really loved this movie. I loved everything about it. I think down to the story, the way it was beautifully written, down to the cinematography. Within the first 2 minutes, you're already like, this movie is gorgeous. It is fantastic to look at. It is so pleasing to the eye. And I love the fact that he builds real sets. So a lot of this stuff was really, practical and real. Thank you, sir. So I think that just adds so much flavor to the movie. And at the end of the day, I loved the story, and I've read where people said this was the most, close adaptation to the book that's ever been done before. And if anybody's going to do that, I would believe it would be him for sure. But the acting's fantastic. Oscar Isaac is phenomenal. I love that guy. I always champion anything he does. Jacob Elordi is really good. I haven't seen him in a lot. I'm not a big Euphoria person. I've never seen the show, and I've only seen a few things from him here and there, but he was fantastic as the creature in this movie. I just think the story is really well done. The acting is top notch, and I really love how this movie wraps up, and I love how it's told in chapters. How you get one chapter from Victor Frankenstein's perspective, and then the next chapter is told through the creature's perspective, and at the end of it, it's kind of those two worlds coming together, and the creature kind of hunting down Victor Frankenstein. And I really love, like I said, what they were going for at the end of the movie. I love the symbolism and stuff at the end of the movie, and I love the way that it ended. I thought the way they ended was perfect. And then there's a quote at the end of the movie too that I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but I cannot. But it was like the chef's kiss to it. I was like, that just sealed it for me. I was like, it was so good. So if you haven't watched this movie yet, it is on Netflix, and it is most definitely worth your time. Number 9, we have Companion. This was one that came out in January of last year, and it held on for the entire year. I thought it was just a really well done movie. I hate that I knew what the twist was before seeing the movie, and I hate that they put that shit all in the marketing and the posters and all that crap. That drives me nuts. And this was a movie that, again, I showed a group of my friends who did not know what the twist was or the reveal was or whatever. And it was so cool because when the reveal is really early on in the movie, probably within the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie. So I was anticipating this for them because they hadn't seen any trailers. They didn't even know what this movie was about. I just kind of gave them a synopsis, like a short synopsis, and then just threw it on. And so when it got to the part where the reveal happens, it was so cool watching them be like, yo, whoa, what? Wait, what just happened? So it was cool to see them have that reaction. That's the reaction I wish I could have had while watching this movie, and sadly I didn't. Thanks to the trailers, the marketing, I don't know why they would put this in here, but regardless, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I still love the movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I think Jack Quaid is phenomenal in this movie. Sophie Thatcher is phenomenal in this movie. Just really love where the story goes and how everything plays out. And it was just overall a really fun time, despite even though I knew what the reveal was. And this is another one that I recommend. I really recommend every movie on this list, but definitely if you haven't checked this one out, especially if you don't know anything about it, go in that way. Don't look up anything about it. Just go in without knowing anything. Number eight is Bring Her Back. And the reason this one is lower on the list is because while I find this movie genuinely creepy and unsettling, this is the most bleak and depressing movie one of that's came out this year. That it's one of those movies where you're just like, I'm a huge fan. I love bleak and depressing movies. I feel like there's a lot of drama and stuff you can take away from that, so I'm always for that. But sometimes it's some of those movies where you're like, I just don't feel like watching that again anytime soon. But this is made by the same brothers who brought us Talk to Me, which I thought was a phenomenal movie. And I still think I prefer Talk to Me a little bit more. But there is still some really effective creepiness to this movie. Like, genuinely terrifying sequences and very haunting imagery throughout this movie. And not only the reason I have it a little bit down lower, because like I said, it's more on the bleak side, but there's something near the end of the movie, without spoiling anything, that I thought they were going to go a certain way and they didn't. And I kind of had this idea in my head with how things were going to go. And again, that's probably something on me, but I thought with that and some things I've heard some other people talk about, I was like, that could have been a really interesting way to go because of how things could have played out a certain way. And they ultimately didn't go that way. And I don't know, that just kind of brought it down a few notches for me after really thinking about it. But nonetheless, this is still a very good, a very effective movie. It's got some of that just real, fucked up shit that Talk to Me had, and just some stuff where it makes you go, ugh, it just really wince and stuff as the movie goes on. And you just feel so ugh after this movie. You're like, I really need to take a shower and maybe see a priest. so this is, I love what these guys do. And like I said, the fact that these guys used to be YouTubers who did comedy skits, I think is, just amazing. So I'll happily see anything these guys do, and I champion them. And yeah, Bring Her Back. Number seven is the one that I forgot about, and I had to move Good Boy off the list for, and that is The Long Walk. And the reason Long Walk is at number 7 is kind of the same reason that Bring Her Back was. How it's very bleak, a very dark, bleak, dystopian type of feel of stuff that's going on. And I don't know, this was just such a great adaptation of a Stephen King, but I've never read the book, but I loved this movie. I thought it was so good and so well done. I love the fact that you care about every single character that is in this movie. Even the ones that you think are just going to be these side characters and throwaway characters, you love them just as much. You really care and want them to succeed too. And it does a great job of putting you in this camaraderie with these guys that as the movie goes, you kind of forget what's going on until something happens, obviously, and it starts taking these kids out. But then as it's going on, you're thinking about, well, damn, you're like, it's kind of like a realization hits you where you're like, damn, there only can be one winner to this thing. There's going to be no do-overs, nobody, nobody's going to, just magically appear and get these guys out of here, or they're not going to revolt and live through that. It all comes down to just one winner, and that's always in the back of your head. And as the movie goes on, it gets more and more closer to that, and you're just kind of like, oh God, I care about these guys so much. And another scary thing is this movie came out this year, and I'm not a political person, and this is not to get political. This is something that could easily probably happen nowadays, and it's kind of scary. We used to be so far off from stuff like this. We're like, yeah, that's just a movie that could never happen. And now we're kind of in a different place now where we're like, that unfortunately could happen, and that's something I don't really want to think about. But this movie does such a good job at putting you in the shoes of these guys, and you feel like as an audience member that you're walking right along with these guys and living through all this stuff with them. And it's just, like I said, it's just so well done, so well executed. And again, it's a little bit on the lower half of the list because of how bleak and stuff it is. But performances, again, all around, fantastic. Mark Hamill, even though he's in a smaller part of this movie, does a great job. He plays the polar opposite of someone he played when he played earlier in the year when he was a loving grandpa in The Life of Chuck. So it was cool that he got to play two opposite ends of a spectrum in the same year. So, but this is one even though it's dark and bleak, I still recommend checking it out because it is such a good movie. And it's got so much heart to it as well. This is a movie that it's so much heart, and there's a speech that the character gives kind of near the end of the movie that I loved it. That just kind of sealed the whole movie for me, and it's a phenomenal movie. Number 6, we have Final Destination Bloodlines, and this was a movie I just had a blast with. I love the Final Destination movies, and I was so excited for a new one because I feel like we've waited so long to get a new one, and we finally got it. And it was just such a fun time at the theater. It was so fun. The deaths were really creative. I think this whole idea of having somebody get out alive and having death slowly start to pick off their bloodlines of these people that never were supposed to exist anyway. And I just think that's such a cool concept. And I loved the opening premonition. I thought that was really cool about the whole high-rise restaurant thing. Really well done. Rest in peace, Tony Todd. This is the final performance from him, and it was just a great speech in the movie. Almost like he was talking to the audience about how he was going to, live out the best, the time that he had left doing what he wanted to do, and he's going to have a damn good time doing it. And it was just good seeing him one last time on the big screen. And at the end of the day, this is just one of those fun horror movies of the year. And again, this is another movie that I've showed to people. I've showed the group of friends that I've showed some of these other movies to. I've just showed them, and they all had a really good time with it. My mom was even interested in seeing this movie, so I took her to go see it, and she had a good time with it. She'll never look at pennies the same way again. Now it's funny because the penny has been discontinued. So, take that as you will. This is just a fun entry into the Final Destination franchise, and I really can't wait to see what they do from here. I think they're coming back, and it's going to be the same creative team, if I remember correctly. So I'm very curious what they're going to do next. Number 5. Number 5 is a movie that I've kind of championed a lot this year that I'd really hear nobody else talk about, and that is a movie called Strange Harvest. This was a movie that premiered at Fantastic Fest, I think, in 2024, I want to say, and I heard buzz about it. And just the buzz of people talking about it really skyrocketed this movie for me, where I was like, I have to see this movie. I want to see it. I cannot wait to see it. And finally, it came out. It got a theatrical release. It was very limited because it's such a small, little independent movie. But essentially, this is a mockumentary about this serial killer that they're hunting for. That he kills these people in this very sadistic way, and it's so many years. It's almost like a ritualistic killing thing that he does. And it's following these two detectives that have been trying to track him throughout the years. And as it goes on, it almost has this like supernatural element to it as well. And it does such a great job of being this mockumentary that really within the first 15 minutes, at least for me, I forgot that I was watching a movie. This felt like I turned on something on the ID channel or the Discovery Channel or something like that. It was just one of those Netflix documentaries. It just did such a great job with that, which you get lost in this world that I was so pulled in and intrigued that I loved it. I thought it was such a good movie, and I championed this movie, and I still, like I said, I hear a few people talk about it here and there, but I don't feel like it's getting the recognition it deserves. So it is out on VOD now. Please, if you have not seen this movie, I cannot recommend it enough. It's just really good, especially if you're a fan of true crime. I think this will be right up your alley. Like I said, it's got that true crime mockumentary element to it with like this hint of supernatural the more that the story goes on. And I love how, as an audience member, you're into this mystery that just keeps unfolding. And it's like it gets worse and worse as the story goes. Like the mystery gets worse because of the way that the killings play out. So things tend to get worse because with what happens with each killing, I don't want to give anything away, but Yeah, I cannot recommend this one enough. Please, if you haven't, please check out Strange Harvest. Number 4 is a body horror movie this year called Together. This is another one that I was really looking forward to throughout the year, and I played earlier at some festivals way early in the year, and it didn't come out till August. So hearing all that early buzz and then having to wait like 4 months, I was like, just it kills me. But Together is one of those movies where it was kind of like this really bizarre story, but it's also about this like this movie about codependency and relationships and all that stuff. And it's like I said, it's one of those movies where it has something to say under the surface. And while being this genuinely, just fucked up movie going on around it with just stuff going on and some just wild, and I mean some wild scenes in this movie. And there's, especially near the beginning, there is some genuinely creepy, like just pure creepy nightmare fuel, like dream sequences that Dave Franco is having. And like I was like, this first time, one of the first times in a while, sitting in a theater where I got like goosebumps and was like that is terrifying. But it's one of those movies too where I love it as more as the movie goes on. Like I said, these weird events just keep unfolding, and as the story goes on, it's like this mystery deepens because of what is drawing these characters together. No pun intended. And it's a really fun movie, but it's also it's wild, dude. It is a really wild movie, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It could be, honestly, this is going to sound fucked up, but this could be a fun date night movie. This could be like, if you guys are looking for a movie to check out while you're guys want to throw on something while you're eating, or you're just like laying in bed at night and you're like, yeah, hun, let's just watch a movie together. This is the one. I would say most definitely, because I would love to see the conversations that happen after this movie. So like I said, while you can look at it as this just genuine horror movie with all this body horror stuff going on, there's also like this whole thing about codependency and relationships and things like that is also there and present, but it's done in a way that it's not shoving it down your throat. So if people want to look at it as just a horror movie, they can. If they want to dive more into the other part of it, they can do that as well. And I love movies that can balance that and do it correctly, and I feel like this movie does it greatly. So yeah, I recommend Together. Number three for me is Black Phone 2. And it's funny because this is a movie to where I know I've said this before, but I think I said it in my review as well, that this movie, if you love the first one, you seem to have not liked the second one at all, and if you hated the first one, you seem to have loved the second one. I genuinely really liked the first one, but I love the second one. I think it's so good. I love it. I don't know why. It's just something about the settings of certain movies, and we had one in my honorable mentions, which was Dream Eater, about this. I love the setting, how this movie takes place at like this youth camp, and it's in the middle of like Colorado where it's snowy, and just that real isolated like place. And I think just something about the snow is real creepy in its own way, because it has this thing of like you're stuck somewhere and you can't go anywhere, and it's almost like snow is almost a character of its own. Like it's almost its own thing in the movie. And I love the story direction that they took in this movie. I love that Finn has this almost like this PTSD from the stuff that happened to him in the first movie. And his sister is really the main more focus of this movie. But I love that the acting. The acting is so good by these characters. Ethan Hawke as the grabber again is just phenomenal as ever. And I love the fact that they took this Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger route to it, to where they made the grabber essentially like the supernatural dream being. And while that might turn a lot of people off, and I might be one of those people where you're like, oh, you're ripping off a Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm just so starved for something with Nightmare on Elm Street related that I'm like, you know what, I'll take this. And it does it so well, and it does it so good. And I love the mystery of this movie. There's a great mystery throughout it as well. And I love the third act. There's something in the third act that there's certain movies that like you see, and some of them, most of the time, they're action movies. And I haven't had one in a long time that you're watching, and by the time you get to the third act, there's stuff going on in the third act that you're just like pumped. You're like, yeah, and stuff. And there's a certain particular scene in this movie, without giving anything away, that was it for me. Like, that was happening. I remember seeing it in the theater, and I saw it twice in the theater. Both times I was like literally gripping my seat and was just like, yeah, you get him, and stuff like that. And I said, like I said, I haven't had that in a while, and so I'm glad that I got it from this movie. But I love this movie. I think it's a great sequel. I love all the stuff that they did to it. Like I said, I love the mystery and everything and all that new elements they brought into it. And as I said in my review, if they were going to do another one, I would say that either they need to do something with just the grabber, or they need to have a whole new story with different characters, because I feel like Gwen and Finn have this kind of wrapped up their story. So, but we'll see. You never know. They might have another great story, because like I said, when this sequel was announced, I was like, what the hell are they going to do with that? How are you going to have a sequel to that? The first one was pretty definitive. I don't know how you're going to do that, but hey, here we are, and I love this one. Number two, we have Weapons, and I'll be honest with you, number one and number two, trying to make this list, I was like, damn, I don't know which one is going to be number one or number two. But I went into this movie like so open-minded, because I did not know what it was going to be. I loved Zach Cregger's Barbarian. I still champion that movie. Looking at you, Disney, you still have not got a physical release for that. So I was so happy that Weapons, if you don't know, Weapons did have a physical release. Thank you, Warner Brothers. I just thought this movie did a really great job of blending so much stuff together. First of all, it was a very interesting story, and I love that all the stories are told out of sequence. Like, they kind of did that in Barbarian, but there's more of it in this one, almost to the point where you're like, I hope it's not too much, because I feel like it's gonna, if you do it too many times, it kind of loses its magic. But not at all. I think each story that happens in this movie is so very interesting, and how it keeps playing into another story. I think it just, because of that, it keeps building stuff throughout it. And by the time you get the full picture of everything, you're kind of like, it works. It all fits together in such a great way that I loved it. And I love the acting. I think all the acting is really well done. I think all the characters are very interesting. It's just an interesting concept about kids running out of their house at 2 o'clock in the morning, and just really well done. And speaking of acting, I'm so happy that Amy Madigan is getting these award considerations, because I think she is genuinely unnerving in this movie. Like, I mean, for sure, if I was part of like the Critics' Choice Association or something like that, I would most definitely be pushing for her to get some kind of award, because she is just genuinely creepy in this movie. There's something so off about her character from the beginning, and when these dream sequences take place that she's a part of, I think it's genuinely creepy and eerie. And the scenes where she has to like just communicate and just pretend to be this whole different person. She does such a great job of having to play like this loving aunt, but still comes off as like just something is off about her. And then she has to, when she's by herself, it's like playing this really just mean lady or whatever. And I said, she's just an overall, just a great performance. And I really love what she was able to do with the character. And the only thing about this movie was that I wish it didn't tip. There's a few scenes in it where I feel like it tipped its hat a little bit early of what was going on. And so, but other than that, it was, at the end of the day, I still really liked it. And I still go back and forth about this movie, whether I like this movie more or Barbarian, because I love Barbarian, and I'm still not 100% sure which one that I prefer over the other. And that's the other thing too about this movie. There's some great comedic parts in it as well. Like, I wouldn't call it a horror comedy per se, but Zach Cregger does such a great job of being able to balance really creepy, just scary imagery with comedy, and he's able to blend it together so well. So I really love this movie. If you've not seen Weapons yet, I can't recommend it enough. Numero uno is Sinners. And I know probably a lot of people is like, yeah, that's the most cliche number one, because a lot of people have that, or a lot of people's talked about it. It's been beaten to death. People's talked about it nonstop. I totally get it. And it's one of those movies where I was like, could I even consider this a horror movie? Because a lot of people don't. And there was quite a few movies to me that came out this year that you could go either way with. That was a certain type of movie with some horror elements to it, and I just, this is one of those movies that, I don't know, I loved it. When I went to the theater, it was one of those theater experiences when I left the theater for the first time, finally, in a long while, I went, that's why I go to the movies. That's the feeling I'm looking for, and I haven't gotten that in a long time. So I've been searching for a feeling like that these past couple years, and this is the movie that gave me that feeling. So that's why I have it as my number one. But it's also a fantastic movie with a fantastic story. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it just ripped off all these other movies." I disagree. It took these great other movies and it paid homage to it in its own way. And somebody that is certain fans of those horror movies that, you know, it paid its homage to and all that stuff, I really loved being able to pick up on that stuff like that. And I just love that this movie has so much to say about it. There's so much to say about it. And it's one of those movies that you could show anybody, and I feel like anybody would get something out of it. And it's a movie that can start a conversation, and you can watch it however many times you want to watch it, and you can get something different out of it every time. You can find something new every time because there's just so much under the surface of every character of the story. There's so much layers, even with the music and the symbolism of the music, and it's, oh man, it's just everything about this movie is phenomenal. Ryan Coogler does such a great job at directing. Michael B. Jordan is fantastic. Is playing these twins off of each other. It's just flawlessly. Some of the stuff they do, like the scene where he's rolling and passing the cigarette, to himself or whatever. I was like, it's just flawlessly done. The supporting cast that is all throughout this movie, you love those people just as well. I even love all the stuff with the vampires. I love the fact that they're not just vampires. There is even symbolism in the vampires, and how our lead vampire also changes his language throughout stuff here and there, how he speaks differently depending on who he's talking to or what he's talking to and stuff like that. And I just love all that stuff that's buried in the movie, because like I said, it's just one of those movies that you can just keep creating conversations about, and I love that. Sinners is also a movie that it stayed with me all year. Like I said, there's just something in it. I need to watch it again. I've only seen it, I saw it twice at the theater, and I've been really wanting to watch it again. It's one that I really wanted to show a group of friends to see what they got out of it, but they watched it when I wasn't around, so I wasn't there for their experience with it, but I was very curious, a lot of it, what they thought about it and stuff like that. But I don't know, this is just a movie where I hope a movie in 2026 gives me the same kind of feeling, whether it be a horror movie or just a regular movie. And there was a few non-horror movies that did that this year too, but Sinners just gave me that feeling that I've been longing for a long time, and just I was like, this is cinema. I mean, I know people overhype stuff and whatnot, but I don't know, I feel like this movie deserved every ounce of hype that it got. So thank you, everybody. That is my top 10 list of horror movies for 2025. I would love to know what your list was. This was just my list. This was just my opinion. There could have been plenty of movies on this list that you were like, that movie was terrible. I don't know what you saw in that movie, but, to each their own. That's the beauty of art, the beauty of, this is why this is my list, because this is just my opinion. This was my taste and what I had. And honestly, there was a lot of other movies I wanted to see this year that I either didn't get to, either I just didn't have time, or they didn't play anywhere around me. And that sucks, because there's so much stuff that I really want to see. And I was lucky enough, I did get to see, I think it was 140 new releases this year, or for 2025. So I'm grateful that I got to see that. That is way more than I've seen the previous couple years. I've got close the previous couple years, but not to the extent of this. But so with that being said, there's a few things, there's even a few horror movies that I've been really curious about that I've heard from other people's lists that I've never heard of before that came out this year, or they're getting ready to come out. So I've been trying to track those down and watch them as well, but I haven't had the time. So, but this is just my list. Again, I would love to know what your list of your favorite horror movies of the year were. Or shit, just I'd love to know what your favorite films in general of the year were. They don't have to be just horror movies. So please comment below and let me know what yours are, because I'm very curious. If this is the video you're finding me on, this is a little bit different because I normally do movie reviews. So if you like movie reviews, please come on over and check out the channel. I just started this channel in January of 2025, so I do have pretty good back catalog of movies, movie reviews for the year of 2025. So come on over if you haven't, and please subscribe and like and all that good stuff. And we try to have fun over there, so I'd love to have you. But please remember to, like I said, like, comment, and subscribe, and that way I can see all of you in the next one. Thank you so much.